Hello, the one and only Xylophoney here, going over a few theories on the story behind ARK Survival Evolved. Now, we're going to look at the island, the ruins, and most importantly, the explorer notes that were recently added. If you haven't been watching the channel lately, I put out a few videos explaining these, and they tend to give some clues on what the story of the island is. Also, the ARK developers have said these will be crucial, as well as the ruins will be crucial to explain the story of the ARK. Now, we don't know if it's going to have a super in-depth story yet, or if it's just going to be a story added on to an already exciting game, but we can definitely see a lot of things that could be a possibility. So we're going to take a look at the explorer notes and look at some of these hints that we have. The first explorer, Megan Lee, says she's 1,000 miles from home. Now, whether this is an accurate, depiction of distance, we don't know. It's probably just a phrase. But she also sees villages, castles, and she's forced to fight people who are trying to rob her on the island. Most importantly, she finds a rifle. Now, assuming she is from ancient China, the automatic rifle would not be around, so this means that she may not be in the same time period in which she was taken from. This could mean a lot of things. Now, does this mean that the whole island is a time travel-y thing? Not necessarily. In fact, the picture here shows an assault rifle, but she may just mean another rifle, so it doesn't really tell us a lot. The next one we see is Edmund Rockwell. Now, if you've played ARK Survival Evolved, you've heard of this name before. He is the creator of the Rockwell recipes, which you probably heard of before, and he is a safe and respected man on the island. He pretty much just studies the berries and different things that you can do with them. The clue that his notes give us is that these berries were placed here by a higher power on the island. Now, this may not mean much. He may just be a very religious man and he may be speaking about God. But there's been a lot of crazy theories about aliens and futuristic people, which could definitely be possible, and he's referencing them as the higher power. And of course, there's a theory that the higher power is just a nod to the developers of the game. Knowing ARK and some of the meta things they do, this would make sense, but considering they are adding all of these explorer notes to add more backstory to it, I feel like they have some sort of purpose behind that wording. Next up, we have Xylophoney. Now, they see other men on the island, so they decide to build their home, and he makes lots of walls, even out of stone. He decides he must make really strong walls to keep other people out. But most importantly, he is killed, and wakes up, saying, "It is not an illusion. I died and came back to life." This is of course referencing the respawn cycle on ARK Survival Evolved. If you die in the game, you come back on the beach, but you still obviously know everything that just happened, and you can go back to your home and continue living there. Now, many games of course just kind of ignore this and give you a respawn as like a redo of sorts, but this is trying to explain it somehow. And of course, if you are coming back to life, that means either this is a very strange mystical place, or the higher power certainly did mean something crazy. Finally, we can take a look at Mischa. Now, this explorer note may be my favorite, but it doesn't necessarily give us a lot of clues. She is most likely from a modern era. She decides to create the dossiers that we have all seen before, but the dinosaurs aren't exactly what she expected. Now, this is of course a reference to the different species of the dinosaurs on the island, how they are not similar to what modern science tells us. So she decides to give them different names, and of course notices that they are very different from things she has seen before. And what she decides to do is study and watch these creatures and get as much information as she can to help others. Now, there's not a lot of clues about this, but once again it does reinforce the fact that the dinosaurs on the island are not exactly what we have studied in history. So, with this brief look into the 4 survivors' lives, we get to learn a little bit about them. The first prefers to fight other survivors, the second survives by earning their respect, the third builds walls to keep enemies out, and the fourth decides to give gifts to stay alive. One more thing we can discuss is the ruins. Now, although we have not seen them in the game yet, we are told that they would play a crucial part in the story of ARK. Now, in the dev kit, we have also seen the physical explorer notes, which I believe will be found at these ruins. Even if you take a look at the ruins, you can see some of the influence from the explorer notes that we've seen kinda on them. In this picture, you can see a ruin that was most likely the home to Mei Yin. In this one, it could very well be the home of Edmund Rockwell. And here is one that would likely be the home of Xylophoney, although a lot of things could have been built by like Xylophoney just because we're told about stone. But that seems like a lot of information, and it seems like that could be where you find the notes. One more thing we've seen is chests. Now these chests may just hold the survivor notes, but then why would the notes have their own physical look to them? That wouldn't make much sense, so the chests may be a more rare find in these ruins, or they may be found at other places in the island, such as the caves. We don't really know too much about these chests or what will be in them, but of course they all have a unique design, and we can see which design goes to which person. On the left, we have a secure lockbox representing Rockwell. Then, we have an ornate Asian-themed box representing Mei Yin. Then, we have a ceramic representing Xylophoney. And then we have a simple steel lockbox representing Mischa. Now, I am a little bit annoyed that it's just a very basic steel lockbox. This does not really tell us much about Mischa, where she comes from, or even what time she comes from. Luckily, her explorer notes gave us enough hints to make us assume she is from the modern era. Now, one more thing I wanted to point out about these chests. They all seem to have locking mechanisms on them. Well, except maybe the ceramic jar. But it has a chain on it. That chain might have a little tiny lock. Or you could just break it open, but you might wreck what's inside of it, huh? Okay, so this isn't the strongest theory, but keys may be required to open all of these, which would make sense when you go to the ruins to find a key. With that key, you can open the box. Or it may be the other way around. You need to find the key to open the box in the ruins. I just think it's very likely that at least some of those items will be found in the ruins. But we still have a lot of questions. One is the obelisks. We haven't really been told much about them. Another one is the bosses. Nothing mentioned them. However, we do have one hint about the Dodo Rex, just because of the dossiers. Of course, Mischa writes the dossiers, and the dossier for the Dodo Rex features a very bloody ripped page. This helps us assume that Mischa was killed by the Dodo Rex. However, looking at the information given to us by Xylophoney, she most likely came back to life on the beach, probably just as confused as he was. Except maybe her work was scattered across the island for people to discover as they tame dinosaurs. I don't know. But that also leaves us with the question, why do people come back to life? Does this have to do with the higher powers that were mentioned? Or does it have to do with the location of the island itself? Is this something magical? Is this something scientific? Or do we all start shouting aliens again? It could be a lot of things, or it could be something very religious, or based on mythology. Of course, once again, Xylophoney mentioned Elysium, which would definitely explain a lot of these things, however, not really fit for a lot of the other characters. Unfortunately, what we do know is limited to the bias and culture of each of the characters presented. Now, when it comes to where the island is, it may not even be on Earth, it may be somewhere else. Everyone was taken and they don't know what happened. However, some people have suggested maybe somewhere in the Bermuda Triangle. Most of you have probably heard about some of the mysteries of the Bermuda Triangle before, and albeit most of them are fictional, this is a fictional game, so this works out. The one reason I do really like this theory is because it helps explain the obelisks and why they're on the island. Think about it, the island is in the Bermuda Triangle. There's 3 obelisks controlled by higher powers. 3 obelisks form a triangle. ARK Illuminati confirmed. All joking aside, there's still a lot more we can learn about the story of ARK. Once we can walk among the ruins, see more explorer notes, and maybe even meet the survivors, we'll have some new clues. But until then, we have a lot of questions, of course, about the obelisks, what era of time this takes place in, and why is the Giganotosaurus so massive? I want to know what all of you guys think about this. Of course, many of you have listed your theories in the previous Explorer Note videos, and I suggest anyone who hasn't seen them, go check them out to get the full picture. But aside from that, let's see what everyone can think of here, and maybe see the craziest theory, and which one makes most sense. Thank you everyone for watching this video, leave a like on it if you have enjoyed, tell me what you think, and I'll see you next time.